Hell yeah. I think I did that right. First try.
That was beautiful. That was beautiful.
Welcome to the Heat Check Podcast Live. I am your host, Chris Patrick. With me tonight, of course, Michael Benjamin and the one, the only, the ever elusive Mr. Tallman. We got the three amigos back in the studio. How you guys doing?
Good. Why do you say that every time?
Because you're very elusive.
Am I that elusive? Okay, that's fine.
You're duck.
Good. How are you?
You're like,
We pushed the stream back 30 minutes for you. How are you not elusive?
Well, I had to grill some brats. So
Can you show us that wiener one more time?
yeah, do you see that? So I forgot to buy burger buns. So
No.
that's just as good, man.
Yeah, I'm utilizing a slice of bread. And
I like it.
as Chris learned earlier, I really like mustard. So
He did.
look at that. That's
He made me a
nice.
mustard and salami sandwich, which was oddly good
It was good, right? It hit right.
in a pinch.
Yeah.
Cody, you're
Michael
like
Benjamin, how are you doing, man?
dude, I'm doing great. But Cody, you're like in a constant state of the movie Dodgeball. You're ducking, you're dipping, you're diving, and you're dodging at least twice. But
Well, if you can dodge a wrench, you can dodge this podcast.
it can't be that hard to do, right?
I'm just kidding. I'm kidding.
Elusive Tallman, elusive podcast.
That's right.
But yeah, so I'm gonna do a quick plug if that's all right with Cody. I know he always has a little bit of a problem with me doing this, but we're gonna do the Heat Check podcast live at least once a week. We do the Heat Check podcast every month, at least once a month. That's what it started at. But me and Mike were just talking before we launched. We're trying to get you more content. We might be launching some more podcasts here very soon in the near future. And also maybe bringing on some of the other guys that you've seen in the round tables and stuff like that, and then even other guests that we have in our network that we've been maybe have in the works. So stick around, see what we got. But I just want to dive right into it. Of course, I think we had it here in the title. Man, some news today. Kevin Durant wants out of Brooklyn, and the Phoenix Suns are on his the top of his list. After Kyrie signed, I thought he would stay. To be honest, I thought he was. I thought that meant that him and KD were going to stay in Brooklyn and run it back.
I thought it was
and to hear that he requested a trade, and on top of that Phoenix is on the top of his list.
Phoenix.
That's what we've been talking about. Yeah,
that's incredible.
When you guys were texting me earlier and you're like, I wonder what we're going to be talking about tonight. I shit you not. I had not seen anything.
Oh, you didn't see it? So you said D-Hop just for the hell of it?
Well, just for the hell of it, just to throw it out there. But maybe his what do you call, his ban was, overturned. But holy shit, man. At this point, for him to say that he wants the Suns as a first option, you gotta make it happen, right? In the previous years, in probably the past 20 years, every time a general superstar requests for a trade and they put a certain team at the end, like bait, it happens. So if the Suns can't pull this off and figure out a way to really triangulate pieces to certain areas and figure out contracts and whatnot to get him here, it's going to be an absolute failure, especially now with the statements that have been made. So I'm excited to see what's going to be going on the next few days, especially with the Deandre Ayton saga, kind of seeing if he might sign a contract somewhere else and then have the 48-hour window for the Suns to match. I mean, what kind of pieces the Suns are going to have to give up. We're probably going to have to lose some key young guys that we don't want to. But when you're trading for a player like Kevin Durant, those are the sacrifices that you have to make and have to be willing to make. So
yeah. So before we dive into that,
you might be soon.
So when was the last time the Suns made a splash like that?
Chris Paul,
yeah.
Okay, so that was good, but let's talk before that happened. Have they ever done something like that? Would you say when they got Charles Barkley?
Steve Nash?
Steve Nash?
Well, I would say that it
Or was he
probably
as
was Charles Barkley, because when the Suns signed Steve Nash, it wasn't really a consensus that he was an MVP level player, right?
because
He
he
had,
won 2 with the Suns. Yeah, he won 2
yeah,
MVPs with the Suns. Yeah.
he had done really good with the Mavericks, and Dirk Nowitzki had been an all-star, but that was the reason why Dallas wasn't willing to re-sign him for the long term that the Suns eventually did, because they thought that he was limited and he wasn't going to be able to take them to that next level. So I would probably say, I mean, yeah, the last big time, big splash that could be on the same level comparative to Kevin Durant is probably Charles Barkley, which is 30 years ago now, you know?
It was a long time ago.
I mean,
It's older than me, or almost as old as me. Shit.
but you gotta, just because Chris Charles Barkley never won a championship either. Chris Paul hasn't won a championship, so you can't. The Chris Paul signing is huge. He is in Hall of Fame, sure, first ballot Hall of Famer. Chris Paul, so I agree. Like, Charles Barkley was one of them, but Chris Paul was the last one, honestly. Even though he's a little later in his career, he got us to the finals, and then he got us to the second round of the playoffs. I know he fizzled out and shit the bed, but you got to give credit where credit's due. 7 games, and in a series that shouldn't have even gone 7 games.
Yeah, but I mean, yeah, the Chris Paul signing was surprising, right? We were all surprised that happened, but this is more of a slam dunk crazy. Like, if they can actually pull it off, like, I mean, they're gonna have to sell a lot of stuff to pull it off. But like, don't you think that we should go all in and not miss this opportunity?
Yeah, no, we absolutely should. And I want to share some of the stuff I've been hearing out there first. Shout out Chevin Noon, the Valley Boys.
What's
in the
up, Chef?
comments.
What's going on, man?
We got some love in the chat. Love to see it. Thank you for being with us. Some of the stuff, I don't know, Cody, if you were listening to the radio or anything. I was on the drive home, and I think it was Gambo was talking about some of the stuff that's come out so far, where the Suns said that for Deandre Ayton, they're going to match any offer. So it kind of like Mike was saying, if we come out in the next couple of days and someone gives them an offer, it sounds like the Suns are willing to match it. But is that to use Ayton as a trading piece? But also on top of that, as another part of that, it sounds like from what they were saying on 98.7, the Nets are not interested in Deandre Ayton. So it almost seems like we're going to have to get rid of, if they're going to want Mikal Bridges for Kevin Durant. Mike, are you willing to give up Mikal Bridges for Kevin Durant? Because I know you've been really against that before it got real today.
Yeah, I mean, Mikal Bridges was the one piece that I would be holding on for dear life and trying to work at other people. Throw a campaign in there, throw a Jay Crowder, even before today, throw a JaVale McGee, throw anything but Mikal. The two guys that I really saw as really indisposable for this team to get to that next hump were Devin Booker and Mikal Bridges, just because what each can bring you on both sides. And Mikal Bridges has a chance to become a two-way star in this league. He still has some things to tweak on his offensive game, but I mean, he's second in all of the defensive player of the year rankings for a reason. And he's a young core guy who wins at every level that you want to build around. So, but when you start talking about other first ballot Hall of Famers, transcendent type of players like a Kevin Durant, you really can't pull anything off of the table except for the one piece of why you're trying to bring Kevin Durant here, which is Devin Booker, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So at this point, you kind of just have to bite the bullet and say, yeah, whatever we can do, and then try and build around free agency to bring in other pieces that can, really complement these two guys. Well, I guess these three guys. And this would be the perfect situation, like what we've been talking about, with Chris Paul becoming your third option and really being kind of a leader of the offense and getting those two main guys really firing on all cylinders, and his production kind of just becomes a cherry on top. We don't have to be waiting for him to show up in games 5 through 7 to really help carry the load to get over the hump in that second round series. Now all of that's on the back of Durant and Booker. So, at this point, anything's on the table. You just got to get it done, man, especially when the guy says this is where he wants to be.
Yeah, no, without a doubt. And one thing that goes along with that, I think, is I want to obviously we want to stay on the Kevin Durant train, and we're going to talk about that a bunch. But within that, and kind of shaping up this team that we're going to have next year, Cody, your boy JaVale McGee just signed a 3-year, $20.1 million deal with the Mavericks, so he's not coming back.
No, that's disappointing.
Does that mean
he's like a homie hopper, man? He's a homie hopper.
Yeah, I thought he would have been great.
He sees the next.
Yeah, great substitute for Ayton if they got rid of him. Not substitute, obviously it'd be center by committee, but he'd be starting, like, right? Do you guys think if Ayton got the sign and trade got out, don't you think if we kept JaVale, don't you think he would start?
Oh yeah, JaVale. I think that was the plan. If we got rid of Ayton, at least I think fans thought that JaVale would be the at least solid option. But the Suns have kind of come out and said that there's a number of centers that they feel are just as talented as Ayton that they can put in there. So maybe they have a guy in free agency or elsewhere that they think they could bring in.
But there's no center that can shoot like he does, which is unfortunate. But
if you have Durant, you don't need your center to shoot.
You don't need shooters. Exactly. Yeah. Like that was the whole thing. Like if you get that piece, that extra shooter that you need outside of Booker, like then you don't need your center to shoot like that. Mm-hmm. So I get what you're saying. Yeah.
Yeah, no, for real. And we're gonna, like I said, we're gonna bounce around here a little bit talking about Durant. That JaVale McGee deal definitely is a factor. But Mike Shev brings up a good point here. He says that the Bridges contract is friendly for how talented he is, and that's a great point. We got him on like what $20 million a year, and for like 4 years or something like that, or 3 years, and he's only 1 year into that deal. So that's a lot we've gotten out of it so far, and to give that up to have to pay Durant probably 35 million a year.
4 years, 90 million.
Was Bridges?
Yeah.
Okay.
Average salary 22.7 million. Free agent in 2026.
Yeah, and like Mike said, defensive player of the year runner-up, and that's what the Suns really need is a defensive guy. They don't need him to score, but we saw in the playoffs in that Mavericks series, although it was for naught, he did show up and have a good scoring game as well, on top of being able to show up on the defensive game. So I guess, I don't know, Mike, I want you to talk about Mikal Bridges a little bit, but do you think that he's too good of a value to just surrender even for a guy like Kevin Durant?
I mean, at this point, with all the contracts that you have to kind of fluctuate and work around, I think he's going to have to be a piece that gets involved with any kind of trade. I mean, we can start talking about, okay, the Nets are saying that they don't want DA, so you might have to start getting a third team involved. But for a player of Kevin Durant's caliber, like we've been saying, like it's going to take a boatload to get the Nets to move off of him, because he doesn't have a no trade clause. He has a lot of years still left on his contract. I think 4 years left. Yeah. And, everybody in the NBA would be stupid to say you wouldn't want a Kevin Durant on your team. So there's a lot more teams that are trying to work in the background now and say, okay, do we have a really legitimate chance? I was hearing some rumblings that Boston might want to get in play and start working around some of their guys and get Jason Tatum and Durant together. So
yikes.
It's just the big piece. I think that's going to come down to what can factor into this trade is what we have to do with DeAndre Ayton, because even if is not dealt to the Nets, I think he's going to be a key component in a third 3-team trade, which is probably going to be the way that this has to get done. Like with Toronto, if we sign DA to a 4 or 5 year max deal where Toronto has already kind of showed interest, we ship him there, then they send Precious Enunwa to us, and we get Durant from the Nets, and then they send OG Anunoby to the Nets along with a Cam Johnson and a Mikal Bridges and a bunch of picks. That's a little bit more enticing than sending a DA to the Nets if they already don't want him. So at this point, man, Mikal's going to probably have to be involved in anything that happens, which is a tough pill to swallow because he's such a key component to the cog and this system that the Suns have built over the past, 3 years, I'd say, going back to the bubble in 2020.
Totally. Don't be upset about it, though. I mean, Mikal,
absolutely not.
Mikal's the best defender on the team, no doubt. I mean, obviously he was runner-up for the award, but Kevin Durant's not a bum either on defense. Like, he can play defense. So Granted, he's not going to win the Defensive Player of the Year award by no means, but I mean, you can argue that he's a two-way player. And that would be the one downside is we're losing one of our best defenders, which Mikel's going to be on the best player any given night, whatever team that the Suns are playing. So, I mean, how do you replace that? It's hard to replace, but also Durant is not a bad defender at the same time, but he's not known for defense. Obviously he's known for
I think I think you only get rid of Mikal Bridges if you get Kevin Durant in return. Right now, I think for any other situation outside of something crazy, I wouldn't give up Mikal Bridges for really anyone else. But if there's a way where we can keep, go for it.
Oh, sorry, Chris. I think Cody brings up a really good point. I mean, they can be interchangeable to a certain extent on the defensive end. I mean, I like Durant's length. He's pretty much a 7-footer who they say is 6'9", which is just absolute bullshit.
Dude, he's stretched motherfucking Armstrong.
So he's probably lengthier than Mikal. The one thing that I could see from that is, in the past couple of years, so much of Mikal's energy had to be expended on the defensive end because he was the guy that they would look to be that primary ball stopper for the, main ball handler, like a Luka Doncic, even like a Stephen Curry, putting him out there and expending all of his energy there. So like in round 2, after game 5, where he explodes for 31 points, that man is probably sucking down wind, just trying to, use his energy on the defensive end. He doesn't have anything to give on the offense. So hopefully that's something that Kevin Durant can come into, where he can give up a little bit more to Devin Booker, to a Chris Paul on the offensive end, where he can have that extra energy to use on the defensive end. Because these guys in the NBA, especially these high-profile scorers, they don't want to freaking play defense half the time, man. That's where they gain their energy back to go back on the offensive end, get in their bag, and go get 35, So we'll see how it goes if it really happens. But
yeah, I think, Davey, are you talking about DeAndre Ayton hasn't had any energy to develop offensively or rebound, or Mikal Bridges?
You talk about
Mikal, yeah. But that's the thing. Like, we don't need Mikal to. Yeah, Mikal. He just said Mikal. Yeah, we don't. Yeah. But we don't. That's been kind of unfortunate for him. We don't really need him to take the offensive possession because Booker and Chris Paul in our backcourt is so heavy in it. But then you have to loop in Ayton as almost the third option. So Mikal is getting those garbage time buckets, the fourth, fifth option on the court at any given time. So yeah, that's tough. And that's another, like, we've talked about it with, like, joking about Ayton's going to go somewhere else and flourish, but that could be another thing with Mikal. Like, maybe Mikal goes somewhere else in this trade, or even Brooklyn, and he just explodes offensively, and he's like a 20 a night kind of guy. And he locks it up on the defensive end as well. But yeah, I don't think you get rid of Mikal unless it's for Kevin Durant. But looking at that contract, it's like you guys said, four more years left on it. It's basically $43 million for this year, and then in the final year it's $53 million. So that puts us in the luxury tax.
Yeah.
Cody, do you think that Robert Sarver would pay the luxury tax and blow it all up to get a guy like Kevin Durant?
He would be dumb not to. I mean, when was the last time the Suns won the NBA championship?
Never.
Say it, never. Okay. So this is that opportunity where if you bring this guy in, and granted, don't sell the entire farm to get him. Don't throw the kitchen sink at him, obviously. I mean, I think Chris Paul and Booker, people are not, like, can't touch them. They're staying. But anybody else, go for it. Because you're going all in to get a chance to win a championship, which I think they could. So I think if he was smart enough, because think about, as an owner, I mean, how many benefits come from winning a championship? So he's going to make a lot of money. So if he does that, if he does the luxury tax, whatever, he should spend the money to get what he wants to do. So He should do it. I think he should. I think he will.
I
If
think,
it's viable.
right. The other factor you have to start thinking about too is what's going to happen with this ESPN report and everything that happened last year with, was it sexual misconduct or treatment in the workplace, whatever kind of racism?
Oh,
Stuff
for
going on
Sarver.
with Robert
Yeah.
Sarver.
Things.
I mean, if he has a good publicity team, I'd be starting to think about any way to get this team to the mountaintop, because then you can keep your focuses on other things like a winning
Makes
franchise.
that disappear real quick.
Okay. And this is also, I mean, a man who, when I was a ball boy for the first time in 2004, was when he bought the team. We've gotten only to certain levels, but never past it. And it was the first time as a franchise owner last year, was his first time to an NBA Finals, right? At this point, you got to think to yourself, okay, I have years under my belt. I've seen what's happened. I've had different types of GMs like Steve Kerr's bitch ass. And now we have a good core unit with James Jones and a coach with like Monty Williams. It's all in time, man. It's all in time. But the other thing in the whole grand scheme of all this to think about is, man, aren't we blessed? We're finally blessed to have problems like this, where an absolute top 5 superstar player for the past 15 years wants to come to the Valley and play in Phoenix. And my goodness, you better be shaking the hand of Devin Booker, because it really is on the back of him. And I'm so proud that right before free agency started, they already said the ink's almost dry with that extension from Devin Booker. So props to them for not dragging their feet and understanding the man who really deserves the praise and going through all the mud that we've had to for, his first 7-8 years. And now we're reaping the benefits of it.
Well, isn't that always what it's been? It's been, hey, let's have a homegrown talent that's good enough that we can attract superstars like Kevin Durant that want to come here and play with Devin Booker. So yeah, like you said, Mike, it's probably all on him. The reason why Kevin Durant wants to come here, probably a little bit of Chris Paul too, because obviously,
Definitely Chris
Paul's the man. But like, it's amazing. Like Devin Booker started that, and he did that for us. So I really hope it works out.
Yeah, no, absolutely, Mike. And I listened to the Old Man and the Three this week. I started checking that out, JJ Redick's podcast. And I listened to the one he did with Kevin Durant and both of the co-hosts that they do it with. And that was a really good listen. Cody, did you check that out?
Was that the one where he was like saying all that good stuff about Book?
Basically, yeah. Like JJ Redick asked Kevin Durant, who's the guy that you like watching in the league right now? Or something.
He said Devin Booker, yeah. His favorite player to watch in the league right now is Devin Booker.
Both said that they liked watching Book.
Yeah.
They just said his game is so pretty. He makes, scoring look so effortless. So it's like on everything else, all the good stuff Kevin Durant's ever had to say about Book in the past. The fact that he's been spotted at Sanderson Ford here.
I was going to say,
this is happening.
Oh my God.
This is definitely not photoshopped. This is the type of shit you find on Reddit.
That's amazing.
What is he buying? An F-150?
Oh,
there's a couple there's like 3-4 Mustangs behind him in that picture. So
dude, there's
a Mustang Mach-E.
Dude, there's no way he'd be able to fit in a Mustang, man. Come on.
No. Gambo sold it to him.
Gambo sold him the Mustang?
Yeah, Gambo loves Mach-E, his Mustang Mach-E, so he sold it to him.
He'll have to take out like the back seat and get it all souped up where it's like pushed all the way to the back. I feel like I'm pretty sure Shaq has done that a couple of times with some of his like sedan or no, his what was he a sponsor for? Was it Buick?
Shaq? Yeah, I think it was Buick. Yeah.
He had to get some modified Buicks where he took out the back seat for him to even be able to sit in it.
That's great.
Yeah, can you imagine?
Well, I think Shaq's a little bigger than Kevin Durant. Only by a little bit, though.
Not by, just like bigger, but like height, like they're pretty close. Like Shaq was a straight up 7 foot, or was he 7'1"?
think it's 7-1, right?
I don't know. Either way, like Mike was saying earlier, like they
he's 7-1.
underlist Kevin Durant's height too much. What is this? What is going on here?
He's getting smacked.
It looks.
His mom is looking lovingly into his eyes.
Yeah.
Oh wow, I didn't catch this earlier. Did you guys see this press conference?
Mission accomplished.
Is that Obama? Who is that?
That's
That's
James
Jones. What is
Okay.
wrong with you?
My second thought was it was Westbrook. It's really small on my screen. I apologize.
Yeah, no, it's small. It's small on mine too. I think we only stream in like 720. There we go. That's let's see. I think I can zoom in a little bit, just so you can see James Jones and Kevin Durant.
Okay, that's
So
okay.
Everybody's excited.
But that was Obama though on that college basketball on the carrier, right?
Oh
yeah, that game that was back North Carolina versus Michigan State.
Yeah. So that he was at that one, right? Who cares? Doesn't even.
I think so. You know who was on that team? Draymond Green. He was on that Michigan State team.
Are you serious?
You know who was on that North Carolina team? Former Phoenix Sun. Do you know who that is? North Carolina?
No, I don't know.
Kendall Marshall. He was going to be
garbage.
He was going to be the next
big
thing for Steve Nash.
Kendall Marshall is garbage.
So I do want to go back a little bit to what it really is going to take to get this deal done and what really the effect full term is going to be on this roster. Because the way that I see it, and I really think there's no way this gets done unless it's a 3-team trade. Because now the relationship with Deandre Ayton has been soured to the point that I don't know if it's salvageable. And obviously I'm not hearing any rumblings in the background, but this stuff that's going on right now with KD, I can't expect it to be helping. You know what I mean? Especially with his name attached to it as a player that has to be shipped in order to get it done. And the pieces that you're going to have to give up, what are you going to be able to get in return, possibly secondary if it comes down to a 3-team trade? And what are you going to be able to do in free agency? Because I know after the NBA draft, a lot of people were just kind of like, oh, okay, I mean, the Suns are in win now mode. You're not going to really be trading up to get draft picks and trying to be building young players that can't fit within this team now and contribute. That's not what you're going to do. And I understand that. I wasn't mad at what happened with the Suns and how they handled draft day. But if you're going to have to go out and you're going to focus all of your energy on a Kevin Durant, and it's going to possibly take 4 major pieces from your team, a Jay Crowder, a Mikal Bridges, a Cam Johnson, an eventual DeAndre Ayton that might go with the Nets or go somewhere, and now you've lost JaVale McGee, what do you bring back in order to fit with those guys? Because one of the problems that happened with the Nets last year is, yeah, they have the big 2 guys to handle, but who backed them up? I know Joe Harris was hurt. Nicholas Claxton can't make any free throws. But what does this team build around, and how does it really get done to keep them within a contender, a true contender spot? I mean, you have those 3 guys. They're going to be contenders, but I'm talking about quintessential winning team. You put them against anybody, and you trust them to win that series. So I'll pass that to you guys.
Yeah, no, that's a great question. Does it seem and this is all in the context of getting Kevin Durant, right?
Exactly. Yeah. It's you get Kevin Durant back. What did it take to get him? Now who do you bring in to play alongside of him? Because a lot of your key components like Cam Johnson and Mikal Bridges are probably gone. So who fits the bill there? Are we hoping that Cam Payne is going to have a bounce back season, average 13 points a game and 6 assists when he's on the floor? Is that a realistic option? Is Dario Saric finally going to come back? I mean, the man had to have arthroscopic surgery in like May, I think. or maybe not.
Yeah.
Maybe March or April. I'm not sure. But how healthy is he going to be when he comes back? There's just a lot of other questions that come into play now, where you got to get this done because the man wants to be here and he's a transcendent talent. But
Yeah.
what pieces do you bring in order to help him out? You know?
Yeah, Cody, I'm gonna grab this one real quick because we actually, I'm gonna pass it over to you, but me and Cody went golfing this afternoon, and we chatted a little bit about some of the stuff that was happening today. And Cody's sunburned because he didn't put on
sunscreen at least, man. Did you wear sunscreen?
The funny is, I have your sunscreen, Mike, and I did not use it.
Dude, it was probably in your golf bag too. How do you not put it on?
It is literally in my golf bag. I apologize.
And
he watched me put on sunscreen.
That stuff is the easy stuff to put on, my brother. Come on.
Well, don't tell Brianna or Sabrina.
I'm gonna sick her on you, dude. Just
do not
watch out.
Yeah, I'm gonna tell Sabrina.
Please don't. She already hates me now.
Sabrina might be watching. You busted.
Oh.
Just outed yourself for not wearing sunscreen. But no, so me and Cody were out there and we were talking about this a little bit. And Mike, you bring up a good question, is like, who do you bring in that is going to be able to go with these guys? But what you know right now is that you're going to have your backcourt. You got Devin Booker and Chris Paul, and then you'll have Kevin Durant. So you have 3 of your 5 starters deadlock, no problem. So what you do, especially with guys like Chris Paul and Kevin Durant, who are veterans, proven, in their mid-late 30s, you sit all 3 of those guys down and you say, yep, told you, you're busted for sure. Love that. Here, I can put it up. Yeah, Cody's busted. Make sure you wear your sunscreen when you're out in the sun, or Sabrina B will come and find you. She spelled her own name wrong on her YouTube. For shame.
You're in
for
trouble.
Shame. But no, getting to my point in my long roundabout spiel is you sit your 3 best players down. You sit Devin Booker, Chris Paul, and Kevin Durant down once you acquire him.
Yeah, it was DeAndre.
It was DeAndre Ayton. But no, fuck DeAndre Ayton. You bring in Kevin Durant and you sit those 3 guys down with James Jones, maybe Monty Williams even, and you ask those players, who do you want to play with? Because this is a new age in the NBA. These guys are all working out together in the offseason, playing in these fun summer leagues and stuff like that, playing in the Team USA, stuff like that. So you got to bring in guys that they are familiar with and that they want to play with. And I think that's going to be super important, especially with a guy like Kevin Durant, because on JJ Redick's podcast, he even said that, like, he kind of got, he quote, I think this is almost a verbatim quote. He said he got hip to the game, and how he did early on in Oklahoma City, he didn't feel like he could approach ownership and really make demands on who was being brought in or really have a say in who the players were around him. But once he got hip to the game and saw how it was, he didn't care what the relationship was with the front office. He was going to go up there and have a say because he knows he's a top 5 player in this league. Even back then with OKC, and even now, he is a top 5 player in this league, and he commands that respect. Devin Booker is a top 10 player in this league. Chris Paul's probably a top 20 player in this league. So you have 3 of the top 20 players in this league, top 25 players in this league. Like, you don't not get their input when it comes to who you're bringing in. So, Mike, I have no clue. Like, I don't know who you honestly would go after that these guys would enjoy playing with, but it could be interesting.
Does it really matter though if you have Booker, Paul, and Kevin Durant?
I mean,
of course it matters.
It does, absolutely, because
matter. But like, I mean, you know,
right. And I don't want the Suns to turn into one of those teams that is just waiting for the playoffs to roll around. Like, we're rolling in as like a 3rd or 4th seed because we were either resting guys or. But that's another thing I worry about, especially with Chris Paul, and because Kevin Durant's like what, 34?
32.
32?
Only 32?
Wait, sorry, hold on.
Cody, if he's 34, I'm going to smack the shit out of you.
He's going to drive over here then.
I will.
Oh, fuck.
Come on. Chop, chop.
He's 33.
33. When's he turn 34? Oh, 32? Chev says 32.
Yeah.
All right, Cody doesn't get smacked, I guess. Anyway.
All right, so he's 33, and he turns 34 September 29th.
So he's about to be 34.
He'll be 34. Yeah, it's about
When the
34.
season starts.
Reports.
Yeah,
Anyway, with him and Chris Paul, I worry about their durability, and especially given their track record of being injured throughout. I mean, injuries are going to happen, but Cody, to your point, it does matter who we get to join them, because at some point in the season, we're not going to have all three of them. We might just have Booker. We might just have Kevin Durant. For heaven forbid, we might just have Chris Paul for a stint. And then who are the guys that are going to step up to keep us winning games to have a good seeding in the playoffs? Because the West is only getting tougher. I don't know if you've seen this, but the Clippers are fucking stacked now. They got Paul George, Kawhi Leonard's healthy, and John Wall.
John Wall, yeah. But
John Wall
he hasn't played basketball in like 2 years.
Yeah.
So whatever.
Neither did Klay Thompson, but he just won a fucking championship.
Yeah, well, whatever.
Well, I mean, that's a good point, though, you know? I mean, Klay is obviously the number 2 option on that team, but Andrew Wiggins stepped his game up to the point where Klay Thompson kind of just fit within the system and, you know, helped them out. Maybe that can work for John Wall, you know? If he is kind of like a third option behind Kawhi and Paul George, you know, he doesn't have to take on so much of the burden, and he can just kind of fill in production from there. I think I do want to go back to talking about, okay, so at least through free agency, what are we seeing right now? And what are some of those players that are kind of on the market? And it's crazy because, free agency began, I think, today at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. But for the past entire week, all I've been hearing is all these guys signing 5-year, $111 million like Jalen Brunson. And I was like, how is this reported? Like, and how is this allowed? I thought there was no tampering. But
wait, so
whatever.
What's your question? Are you assuming that Ayton's gone?
Ayton, yeah. At this point, we're assuming that Ayton's gone, because if you're bringing him, you have to get that contract off the books, the eventual contract that he's going to want, because he's not going to opt into his tender that the Suns offered, the 16.2 or 0.4 or whatever.
Yeah, whatever it is.
He's going to want something that's closer to a max deal. Unfortunately, when he goes out into free agency, if he hasn't already, I think he's going to be sorely mistaken for what his numbers are looking at. I don't think anybody's going to be offering him 5 years, 180, like he wanted from the Suns. But that's besides the point. So I start looking at, you know, who's available, and all of these guys have already started to fly off the list. Jalen Brunson signed with the Knicks today. Anthony Simons signed 4 years, $100 million today.
Well, you don't need Jalen Brunson though on the Suns.
Well, Cody, just let me read the list, my guy. Let me read the damn list.
Okay, go ahead.
Lou Dortz, ASU's own, signed a 5-year, $87 million contract with OKC today. Bobby Portis going back to, or no, not going back. I think I saw reports that he's going to the Warriors. Chris Bouchard back to Toronto. PJ Tucker, 3-year deal with Philadelphia. I mean, I started looking at some of these other guys. I mean, Nicholas Batum is old. Malik Monk, I don't know if that's somebody that I really want. He's going to sign with the Kings. I might be interested a little bit in Kyle Anderson, because he's listed at small forward, but he plays bigger. He's a bigger bodied guy who could probably play power forward and can play on both sides a little bit. You're not going to get too much offensive production from him, but you're not going to need it, right? It's going to be those guys who can come in off the bench and really help you out. Lonnie Walker, he signed with the Lakers today. The one that really, really intrigued me was Victor Oladipo. I think he would be a great 2-guard off the bench who can create from himself, probably get you 16 points a game, 16 to 18 if he really needed it.
Last season?
Right, but he was a contributor for the Heat going down the stretch in those playoffs. I mean, Jimmy Butler put him on his back, but he definitely helped him out for sure. But he sounds like he wants to go and be a starter and get at least 10 to 15 mil a year. And that's the money that if you make a trade for Kevin Durant, you're really not going to have those options. You're going to have to start looking at those guys who will take pay cuts in order to play for a winning franchise. And I mean, these guys I see, Joe Ingles, I think I saw some people talking about Kevin Knox, another wing guy from the Knicks who was drafted a couple of years ago, but he's really unproven and lost his good faith with that team. And I think he ended up getting shipped out. So I just don't know who comes along with. What
Mike.
about Ricky Rubio? Do you want to do Ricky Rubio again?
Oh yeah.
Well, yeah, Mike. I started looking at this list also as you're going through it. There's a lot of guys that we could bring back from what's the opposite of the glory days? The dregs of the Suns past. Tony Warren, TJ Warren, unrestricted free agent out of Indianapolis. Derek Jones Jr., airplane mode, unrestricted free agent from Chicago. Robin Lopez, even. How far back you want to go, Mike?
We could keep going, man.
Josh Jackson. Is Josh Jackson listed as a shooting guard, or is that a different Josh Jackson?
That's got to be the same one. He was a shooting guard.
Yeah. I saw this name. I saw this today, and it reminded me. Did you guys see the news about Miles Bridges today?
He got arrested.
Yeah. What was it for,
Domestic
though?
violence, right?
DV, yeah. DV
Yeah.
in California, I'm pretty sure, is all that's been reported so far. And that was a guy who early on, I think, was at least kind of like Davey was saying in Reddit, people were talking about Miles Bridges and maybe potential sign and trade there to bring him over for the Ayton deal. So that all of a sudden, that I think those rumors kind of quieted down, but that kind of quashes it all out. You gotta imagine.
Yeah, I think that was those were some of the first initial trade talks that they were talking about. I think Miles Bridges, PJ Washington, and maybe some picks for Ayton.
Mm-hmm.
But it's crazy how just a couple weeks, man, things can change. I mean, it's the same thing, just a couple days, man. Kyrie opts back in, and everybody thinks it's the gravy train in Brooklyn. Okay, they're going to run it back. This time they're going to get back Ben Simmons. And now, I mean, obviously we don't know the full effect, but is Kevin Durant just done with Kyrie Irving's antics? And, how much of that playoff series where Ben Simmons, it sounded like he was ready to come back and he was finally going to be able to get on the floor, and everybody said it was going to be game 4 that he would come back, and then he just sat out. I mean, maybe he's just done with the antics there in Brooklyn and wants a fresh start and somewhere where he really thinks that he has another chance to win a ring. And at the same time, it's beautiful to go to a team in the same division as your old team, as the Golden State Warriors. And if you can beat them, even in the playoffs or win the division and get over them, I mean, that's sweet, sweet redemption, I think. Especially now that since the Golden State Warriors have won a 4th title and everybody has said, okay, Steph's resume has been cemented and everything. It's almost like everything that he did with Kevin Durant, it doesn't matter. Steph is the guy. He's the great,
Yeah. So
and deservedly so. But now this is Kevin Durant saying, hey, okay, I'm ready to get there. So you guys are saying the same things about me now.
Yeah. I think as far as just real quick to touch on that Warriors point, I think for Steph, it kind of solidifies that he's that caliber of player. They can kind of hang their hat back on the built, not bought. They have 2 bought championships with KD and 2 built championships on their own. So they're not bubble champs, but they're like super team champs. But we won't put all these asterisks and check marks next to all these chips. It's just chips are chips. If the Suns got any of those, I would be just as happy. Just like if we get KD right now, that's definitely Booker, Paul, and Durant. That's a super team. But I'm gonna be unashamed about it. But Mike kind of wanted to go back to what you were saying there just a bit ago or ask a question, I guess, because something happened here in Brooklyn where you have all these star players. Even depend on how far you want to go back. They had Irving, Harden, and Durant. You got 3. And at the time, Harden was definitely considered one of the top guys in the league by all means. And they hardly played but 20-something games together that whole year that they were all healthy and on the same roster. And then, of course, Harden gets shipped out to Philadelphia, and Irving was with his restrictions due to the status and the laws and whatnot. But now it's all imploding. Getting long story short, I almost wonder how much of a part Steve Nash had in this, because you saw Kyrie Irving not have any respect really for Steve Nash, basically saying we don't need a coach. I don't know if Harden
I saw
had
a
any,
conspiracy theory.
but I could see Durant kind of like Durant doesn't need a coach. Like Durant's that smart and that good that he doesn't need a coach. I think he's a bit more tactful in his approach. But do you think, Cody? Maybe I'll ask you maybe first, so you can get some say in here edgewise. But do you think that maybe up in Brooklyn, like you just said, like the conspiracy, like they kind of colluded against Steve Nash, weren't really like listening to him, and like that's part of like, because it sounds like Steve Nash is going to be the coach next year, and Kevin Durant's like, you know what, fuck that, I don't want any part of that.
Honestly, I don't know that much about Steve Nash and how he was as a coach, but the conspiracy theory I saw was that he was doing it and feeding into Durant to make him come back to Phoenix because apparently Steve Nash likes Phoenix. Shocker, right? I don't think it has anything to do with it. I think Durant saw the talent going on in Phoenix and he saw that there's something special. I think he just wants to play, where he's going to win basketball games. And you can say like he just hops around wherever he wants to go to win games, and he doesn't sit through anything tough to try to fight through adversity and be good where he's at. He just jumps around to try to win. But who cares? If he comes to Phoenix, I'm all for it. So I don't know. I know you asked the Steve Nash question. I didn't have much to say on that.
No, you're good. Do you have anything else you want to interject real quick on Kevin Durant or the Brooklyn Nets?
Well, what gets me is, Kyrie Irving is a good player, right? And then like last year, in the playoffs, they got swept by the Celtics. They couldn't even win a game in the playoffs against the Celtics.
This year was when I think they got swept by the Celtics. And last year they got out by the Bucks in the Eastern Conference Finals.
Yeah. So I don't know. You like when Durant went to the Nets and Kyrie Irving with the Nets and Harden with the Nets, I was like, okay, well that's a team that the Suns are going to play in the finals, but it never just came to fruition. So
right.
I'm not surprised that he's frustrated by that, but I don't know. You can buy titles, but if you guys can't play together well, I don't know, it doesn't work out. But does he fit well on the Suns roster? It's hard to say. What do you think?
I think you make Kevin Durant work on the roster.
I agree.
that's who you're talking about, right? Like,
yeah, that's exactly what I'm talking about.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, exactly. I agree though. Like you can see him as like, you can call him a ring chaser all you want, but I do think he just wants to be on the most competitive team. And it's a new era. And maybe I'll be a hypocrite just because it's the possibility of the Suns getting Kevin Durant. But like we even talked about a guy like Anthony Davis, who had basically, I think he had just freshly within a year or so signed a deal with the Pelicans, and then started forcing his way out and alluded to wanting a trade, and then full out demanded a trade and forced his way to LA. So it's not uncommon anymore, and it's not unheard of. It's just kind of the way it is. I would say that you don't really see like the loyalty to any one team like you used to, but in some cases you do. Like Devin Booker is on the precipice of signing that Supermax extension. It seems like he's trending towards surpassing Larry Fitzgerald as a Valley icon. Going back to a conversation we had on the Heat Check podcast, but I believe it. Like if Devin Booker keeps progressing and transcending and brings a chip to the Valley.
Hey, Larry was on Madden. Now it sounds like Book's going to be on 2K.
Book could be on 2K.
That's one step closer.
Who was Larry on the cover of Madden with exactly?
Oh, shut the hell up, Chris. I don't want to. No. No. We're not going down that path.
It wasn't just him on the cover, was it, Mike?
He didn't have it alone.
No,
it wasn't just.
Yes, we know.
The guy that has a lot of dandruff, right?
Yeah. Yeah, just like Patrick Mahomes.
That too.
So I do want to say a little bit about the coaching aspect with Steve Nash. One of the things that we've seen, I guess I can bring up LeBron as a real specific person that can kind of flow into this conversation. I guess I'm saying here is, guys that have really large personalities and are superstars as well, they kind of tend to take matters into their own hands. I can see that from a Kevin Durant, but I definitely see that more like I'd say James Harden is probably more like that. But oh man, I don't think Steve Nash was ever going to be like the faulty guy if things broke down there, right? It was going to be the big three couldn't mesh together and they couldn't handle the situation because LeBron won titles with Tyronn Lue and David Blatt, and were those guys really like main head coach guys?
Yeah, no, that's a good point.
Tyronn Lue has made a name for himself now with the Clippers, and props to him. Right. But I could, argue that his first kind of go around with those Cleveland teams, he was just kind of there to keep the blow up from basically happening, and that might have been what was going on with Steve Nash. But I'd say more so it was a downfall of guys didn't know. They, like you said before, Harden, Kyrie, and KD only got 20-something games together. I mean, you can't build any kind of continuity as a unit playing that amount of basketball together. And when you get into the playoffs, you don't even know who's going to be there with you. I mean, and especially before the COVID restrictions came down in New York, you were like, okay, Kyrie's never going to be able to play at home. I mean, that's a mental burden that has to be on you if you're Kevin Durant for the entire first half of the season, because you know that every time you're at home, you have to carry the load, and it has to be you.
Mm-hmm.
Because at that point, I mean, I think James Harden was playing okay, but he wasn't putting up numbers like Kyrie. Right. So I think that could be kind of a big thing, and maybe all the rumblings about Kyrie wanting to do a United tour with LeBron in LA, and then him finally was like, he opted back in for the 36, and he had his weird comments about coming back, and then he was like, dude, you know what? Fuck this, man. I'm done with this shit. Get me out of here, man.
Yeah.
Maybe James
traded though.
Yeah, maybe James Harden knew something that we didn't before.
So, yeah, maybe with Kevin Durant and Kyrie, it might be like, yo, I like you, you're my homie, but I don't want to be on the same team as you anymore. Like, I'm getting out of here. But to shift away from the Nets a little bit, we can touch back on it. But Chev brings up a great point here, and I've been thinking about it a little bit. He doesn't want to be that guy, but what do the Suns do if they can't get Durant? And honestly, I think that's kind of an easy question to answer in a lot of ways.
We're gonna blame Chev.
We'll blame Chev. No.
Thanks a lot, man.
No, but we'll obviously we won't have given up anything to get Kevin Durant, so we'll still have Mikal Bridges, Cameron Johnson. It sounds like if they're going to match any offer, we're going to bring Deandre Ayton back to at least keep him as a trade piece, or even if not, maybe even get rid of him for a guy like Miles Bridges, like I think Davey or someone was saying in the chat. But you either bring Ayton back and make it work, have everyone sing Kumbaya, or you get rid of Ayton, but you still have those other pieces as well. And then you just build on top of that. So it's almost like running it back, but a little bit modified, because you'll still have your top two guys. You'll have CP3 and Book, Mikal. So those are your top three starters. Then you just got to figure out who's going to play the 4 and the 5. And the Suns' attitude has been that we can get any center to plug and play at this position. And the forward, what used to be the traditional 4 position is dead. That doesn't exist in the NBA anymore. It's basically, you got a 1, a 3, and a 5. And really, you could have 5 3-position players if they're lengthy and able to handle the ball. Like, honestly, you could have 5 Kevin Durants out there and just clone him 5 times, and you would have the best team on earth, because he's that hybrid guy. He can handle it, he can pass it, he can get to the basket, he can shoot from range, he can pull up. He's a weapon. He's lethal. And so bringing that back in, Cody, do you think then, kind of piggybacking off that question, of also, what do the Suns do if they can't get Durant? But would you, and also, would you rather they get Durant, or would you rather they reload and kind of run it back?
Well, obviously,
if you had your choice in a perfect world, if it was Cody's choice,
in a perfect world, they get Durant and they don't lose anybody on the roster, but that's not going to happen.
Right? Okay, so then what if we don't get Durant? Then what do you see happening? Kind of.
If they don't get Durant, then it's hard. It's hard to say it, but you pay DA, you bring him back. and you run it back with this similar to the roster you had before and then the year prior to that. I think they keep DA, they don't get Durant, then they keep DA, and then they try again. Is that going to work out as well as it did the last 2 years? Well, actually, let me take that back. It didn't work out that well this year. But I think if they don't get Durant, then they're in that position. Like, who are they going to trade DA for then? Are they just going to dump him off somewhere and get nothing in return for that first overall pick? I think you got to keep him at that point and then just roll with it. Like you were the best, you had the best record in the NBA last year. You went to the finals the year prior to that. Obviously, you're doing something right, so keep him and go for it. Like you're not fully running it back, but you're pretty much running it back. Like 90% you're running it back. So I think they have to sign him, pay him. You can always trade him. Just because you sign him and you give him 150, 60 million, whatever, you can always trade him. So that's what I think.
Cody, you bring up so many good points there, man. I mean, we're talking about a team that set a franchise record for wins last year. So if you bring back a core of that, you're probably still looking at a top 5, maybe top 6 seed in the West. I know the West is getting stronger. The Clippers are going to be having Kawhi coming back. I mean, hopefully for their case. You add a piece like John Wall. Obviously, you don't know what's going to happen there. But the Mavericks have made moves. They bring in Christian Wood. They bring in JaVale McGee. The West is only going to get stronger. The Warriors seem to be back. I mean, obviously, okay, you have to say that they're back. They won the fucking championship. So they're back. We'll see what the Lakers do. I know that they're getting older, but the West is always so competitive. But this team set franchise records, and if you're bringing back the same core pieces, I mean, that's just another year on top of each other that this team is going to be able to gel and mesh and play better together. But if we can't get anything done with Durant, you sign DA to whatever kind of max deal or match whatever kind of offer sheet he gets out there. You try and mend that relationship. You work through the season, start kind of figuring out what other free agency pickups you can plug and play. You hope for guys to take another step, like campaign, time to step up. Cam Johnson, time to take that next step to 14 to 16 a night. Do a little bit more on the defensive end. Just guys really, really getting involved. And exactly like Davey says, if it doesn't work, Deandre Ayton is still such a big key piece that a lot of teams will probably want. You can send him at the trade deadline and get pieces back. And that could be the same thing. Say we don't get this worked out with the Nets, and the Nets trade Kevin Durant to somewhere else, to like Miami or they don't trade him and they keep him the same way and they try and run it back with Kyrie. And then 6 months from now, everybody's all pissed off and it's not working again. And maybe it's a little bit easier of a trade to work out, and another team might be invested and a little bit more helpful to make a 3-team trade work, where maybe we do get Kevin Durant down the line because he said that he wants to come to Phoenix and play with Devin Booker.
Yeah.
So
and that's not going to change just if a deal doesn't get done.
Exactly. So there's so many different moving pieces that happen if things go this way or not. And there's always opportunities to move your teams around before trade deadlines. So,
yeah.
Oh, man, it's going to be a whirlwind of the next freaking 2 weeks, that's for sure, with all these domino pieces falling around the league and seeing where all these free agents are going. The one thing for sure, if you're going to try and go after Durant, you got to make it happen probably within the next 48 hours. Because you got to be aggressive.
Got to be aggressive on it.
Oh, yeah.
You need to see where you sit and what other moves need to be made.
Yeah, no, absolutely. There's a lot of moving parts, and you want to get it done quickly to get Kevin Durant in here so that you can start to figure out what those other moves are that you want to make. Real quick, just winding it back a little bit to what you were talking about, JaVale McGee going to the Mavericks. I just realized, I don't know if this has been pointed out yet, but why does he go to the teams that eliminate his team from the playoffs?
That's what I'm saying. I say he's a homie hopper, bro. I'm telling you. He loses, and then he goes to the team that freaking beat his ass because he wants to try and win again. Hey, I mean, more power to him. That's fine. But hey, oh my goodness.
No loyalty. But that's crazy though, because he's 34. He just turned 34, and so they shirt him up until he's 37. So I mean, Mavs, if he wanted a longer deal, I think the Suns didn't want to give him more than 1 or 2. I think they wanted to give him a 1-year deal. I don't even know if a 2-year deal was talked about.
Yeah, I think they were even questioning doing a 2-year deal. So if he can get his money, especially like you're saying, he's an older player. This is probably kind of the last long-term contract that he can get. Go get your money, big fella. I mean, he doesn't have anything else to prove, man. He's a 3-time champion. So
that's true.
He's riding off into the sunset at this point, man.
He's an Olympian too.
He is a gold medal Olympian, right?
Yeah, gold medal Olympian.
Oh yeah. Was he on the same team with Durant and Booker?
I think he was.
Yeah.
Dude, you couldn't wait a couple more days, man.
Dude, he's got to be kicking himself. Hopefully he's upset.
My goodness.
Who knows? You know, those guys are all talking though. They have a finger in the breeze, kind of checking the temperature of what's going on. But man, I could do a whole nother hour talking about Kevin Durant and the Suns, but I know Cody might fall asleep if we do that.
I mean, look at the flags behind him, dude.
That's what I'm saying. The difference. Look at like I said, Mike's wearing the Suns shirt. I'm repping the throwback kid jersey and the hat. Cody has no Suns gear anywhere in his house.
That is a true statement.
Yeah. No, that's okay though, because you'll be our go-to Cardinals guy, and it's in the title of this video, so we got to talk about it.
Well, the thing about it is there's no good Cardinals news though.
Then you make it good. Yeah. You gotta this coming out this week. I think actually
I didn't see the title of the video. What is it?
I can't see it right now, actually, either.
Oh yeah,
Kevin Durant, probably Suns and D-Hop.
D-Hop,
because I texted D-Hop earlier today.
Yeah, because he texted D-Hop. But no, it's funny because obviously a lot of the comments and stuff that come out in training camp it's all kind of fluff and garbage. But just for the sake of it, for the fuck of it, they were talking to Cliff Kingsbury yesterday at camp. And Cliff said, we're trying to come up with a great plan that rolls right up to week 7 of the season and make sure we're smart about it. But the main thing I don't want to do is ramp up. The main thing I don't want him to do is ramp up, make a bunch of plays in training camp, do this, practice really hard, and then 6 weeks he's not doing anything. So it sounds like they're playing it smart, kind of managing his reps in camp right now, understanding that he's going to have 6 weeks, I think, away from the team, right? He can't even be at practice or anything during the suspension. Do either of you know if that's how that usually works?
I don't actually know that.
Mike?
You can't hold me to it, but I'm pretty sure suspensions mean you can't be in the facility during a certain time frame. So I don't know if it means he can go to training camp or not. I imagine it would be.
I think usually, yes. I think, usually they do let you go to train. It's weird. They let you go to training camp, but I think then, you can't during the regular season. You can't be in the locker room, which is stupid. I think that's kind of dumb, but.
Well, he said he's still trying to get it down, but it's he came out and said he didn't feel it, but.
Yeah, you remember when Patrick Peterson was suspended for his shit? He was the stories came out where he was up in Flagstaff doing conditioning training all the fucking time and trying to stay in shape and it wasn't the best shape. It was well, of course, Patrick Peterson came back and was still a bum. So I don't know. I mean, we can talk about it. How much are you worried about those first 6 games without DeAndre Hopkins? I know a couple episodes back we went through the schedule and kind of decided they could go 500 or it could go really bad, but it's a tough starting slate to that schedule.
I'm not worried about it. Are you guys worried about it?
I'm a little worried about it.
Yeah, I mean, to start, those first 2 games are going to be tough against Kansas City and Oakland.
Raiders?
Oakland, Las Vegas. My bad.
Oakland.
They'll always be the Oakland Raiders. To me,
I'm not worried about it. I mean, I think they knew about it. I mean, why would you spend your 2nd round pick on the best tight end in the draft? So, what we're probably going to see the first 6 weeks There's a lot of tight end heavy sets, and I expect Ertz and that kid, and even a little bit of Max Williams and Marquise Brown to show up a little bit. And I think we're going to be fine. I'm not too worried about it. As long as James Conner brings his last year form to this year, and he does what he did, and he catches the ball as well as he did out of the backfield, I'm not too worried about it. But obviously, it all comes down to Kyler Murray. So, but I'm not too worried about him not being there. I mean, I am excited to see when D Hop does come back, to the amount of how free. All right, let me take that back. How free Hollywood Brown's going to be when D Hop's on the field across from him. I mean, come on. Well, who do you put your best defender on? Is it DeAndre Hopkins or is it Marquise Brown?
You got to put him on D Hop.
It's going to be on D Hop. So I'm excited to see that, but I'm not too worried about the first 6 weeks. I think it's a decent football team, and I think we'll be fine. I mean, worst case we go 3-3, and then we get D Hop back, and then we make a push at the end of the season. So.
Yeah, I'm with you. I'd love to see a little bit of an end that's different than the past 2 years, where we start off a little bit on a hot streak and then just completely shit the bed and fall apart in the second half. So I wouldn't mind if we start off a little bit shaky and we're like 2-3, 2-4, and we get our guy back and start putting some wins together.
And we finally finished strong for once with Kingsbury.
Well, that's what I was gonna say, Cody. That's been the thing, is they can't finish strong. So if you have a mediocre start, and then if history repeats itself, the cliff, we're gonna fall off the cliff and fucking have a shit end to our season. Like you said, it has to be different this time. When you get Hopkins back and you're at full strength, hopefully you still have enough of your key pieces healthy where you can we'll be able to see what that 1-2 punch is of Hollywood and Hopkins, having them out there at the same time. That's crazy. Yeah, I'm with Davey. Like, 2-4 is a scary prospect, because I'll take 500. And looking at the schedule, I think that's possible. And that's so crazy, because that's only one. That's the difference of one game between 2-4 and 3-3, right? Like, but it's so different. And that's the same with like a playoff series. Like, think about a playoff series. If you like, that's the end of the series. If you're 2-4, I know it's not the same thing exactly, but like when you talk about having be typically or historically being front runners the past couple seasons with Cliff Kingsbury, where we come out hot, we have a good start, and then fizzle and fart out and just are not in any sort of form by the end of the season, it makes you nervous. And but just thinking out loud here, that could be the spark they need. Maybe right around that 6-7 game mark is when they would normally start to kind of hit that downgrade, but you get an injection of DeAndre Hopkins, and it might reignite the whole offense if they're having any trouble. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I mean, 2-4 is obviously not ideal.
All right,
but
Chiefs,
we're going to get any
Rams,
kind of
Panthers.
Say it again, Cody.
What?
Chiefs, Raiders, Rams, Panthers, Eagles, Seahawks. So
Seahawks, Eagles are a win for sure.
I don't know.
You sure? I mean, the Eagles are.
We
getting
did it
better
last time.
year.
I said the Eagles were going to beat the Cardinals.
Yeah, the Eagles are getting better this year. I mean, the Rams just won the Super Bowl. They're going to be.
The Chiefs are the fucking
good
Chiefs
again. The Chiefs will find a way, but that's one of those games where it's kind of like, it's a feel it out game for both teams, right? You have different rosters. You're going to have to see really what you're made of, and Pat has lost one of his key weapons in Tyreek Hill, so he's going to have other guys step up. Like, oh my good. Well, I mean, Kelsey's Kelsey.
Yeah,
Kelsey's always going to be Kelsey. Who's that other speedy receiver that they have?
McCall Hardman.
Yeah.
Yeah, Hardman.
This is going to have to be his year where he steps up.
Oh yeah, absolutely. With them getting rid of Hill. Yeah, I think that's the only reason they would get rid of Hill, is if they thought he could step up and fill that role for a lower amount of money. Because Hill's good, but he's just a speedy guy. If you can get a guy that gets the space on the defender, most people in that position are going to be able to make that. But maybe I'm minimizing his talent, because
I was going to say, I'd be careful the way that you're talking about Tyreek Hill.
Well, he sat there on his own podcast and said that he was underused, and he led the team in receptions. So I don't know.
That's crazy. Because where's he's at now? He's in Miami.
Yeah.
Miami. That's right.
I mean, the
Yeah.
good thing is no matter where we're sitting week 7, we're going to get a nice little injection right into the arm and the heart of our team, man. Bringing D-Hop back is going to change everything, and it's at a good point.
Against the Saints. So we can talk about the offense all we want. Like, I'm honestly worried about the defense.
Yep, 100%. Did you see that report about what they came in like 26th ranked worst secondary in the league or something that?
Yeah.
It's crazy how year after year, man, they find a way to not get good corners or like secondary players. I mean, Budda Baker is one of the best safeties in the league. I understand that. But that entire time that Patrick Peterson was here, all you had to find was some kind of serviceable guy to fit with them. And they only did it 1 year, which was Antonio Cromartie, and then he was gone the next year.
Yeah. Well, you don't believe in Murphy?
I think he's still too young and he still has a decent amount to prove, but he's
more
still not consistent enough, you know?
He's more a nickel. What about Marco Wilson, the rookie last year?
But that's what I'm saying. Okay, Byron Murphy is your number 1 corner now. Who goes with him?
He is the number 1 corner, yeah. I don't know. Obviously it's a weak spot on the defense. And then you lose Chandler Jones, and Chandler Jones is sitting pretty in Las Vegas with what's the guy out there? Is it Crosby or something? I don't know. But Raiders pass rush is outstanding. Yeah, Max Crosby, yeah. So you lose him, and do you replace him? No, you don't. You draft a tight end with your second round pick in the draft. So I don't know. It's going to be interesting. I think that's probably the weakest point. And then the question mark is, well, what is Zaven Collins going to do this year? Is he going to show up? Is he going to be worthy of a first round pick? Is he going to pay off? I don't know. So the defense is the biggest question mark. Offense is great. On paper, offense is awesome. You know, even if you take D-Hop out, the offense is still the strong point. But I don't know.
Yeah, and that's kind of scary. You know,
very scary.
It'll be like if you're looking when Madden 23 drops or whatever, you're gonna see the Cardinals' offensive ranking is gonna be like their rating's gonna be like an 88, and their defense is gonna be like a 75 or some shit.
Oh, totally.
But that's kind of like I feel like maybe again, Mike, correct me if I'm speaking out of turn. But I feel like that's what the early Chiefs teams were kind of like with Patrick Mahomes, just kind of getting in these shootouts. That notorious game with the Rams, where it was damn near 50-50, or maybe more.
Yeah,
they put
like 58, 55, something like that.
You're comparing Kyler to Patrick Mahomes though, at the same time, and then we don't have a Tyreek Hill, and D-Hop is never available apparently. But I get what you're saying though, and that might work out. If the offense is powerful enough, then we'll make up for a weak defense. But
yeah,
defenses win championships. So,
but that's a scary prospect of having to get in a shootout every week versus having a defense you can fall back on. But it almost seems like you can't have it both ways anymore. Like you have to either lean all in or the other way, because if you kind of sit on the fence, you're just going to be mediocre or average at everything, and you're not going to be able to transcend to get those meaningful plays. Because either on defense you have to make meaningful stops, 3 and outs, or on the offense you have to be able to slang it and get touchdowns on every possession.
Yeah, who was the closest? I know the Packers had a decent defense.
You're like the closest to being like a well-rounded.
Yeah, and then 49ers had a very solid defense, and they pulled off a miracle to make it to the playoffs.
What was the Buccaneers defense like that first season with Tom?
Very good.
That was pretty solid, right?
Yeah, they were the reason they won.
Yeah, they were.
And that's the thing. Like you have to have a transcendent player and quarterback, even at like Tom Brady. But even they still had some people. Like you can't diminish Mike Evans. I think Chris Godwin was even on the team. They had a stacked backfield, if I remember correctly, with Leonard Fournette.
And then who was the other cat they had? Jones something, right?
Yeah, it escapes me.
Ronald Jones III.
Ronald Jones, and didn't they even have they signed Shady McCoy in the later half of the season? I don't know if he ever really saw the field, but even just having that name on your roster, and I think that was pre-Gronk, but still they had Cameron Brate. Like they weren't hurting for offensive weapons. I think it was just the line was a little shaky. But then, yeah, that defense, like, so that's probably it. Like, that is an example of a pretty well-rounded team. But I would say, with the bit of an asterisk, I love asterisks, that Tom Brady was on the team. You know, you got the GOAT, the best quarterback to ever play the game, a living legend, someone that you can hate all you want. I fucking hate him, but real recognize real. Like, Tom Brady, man, he's proven it. Cody, I know you hate Tom Brady.
Wait, Chris, in that in that Tampa Bay Kansas City game, you were going for the Chiefs in that game? The Super Bowl?
Yeah, probably just because of my inner. No, I don't know, dude. Because I might have been to my Brady respect. I might have been on my respect Brady shit because I didn't think he was gonna leave the Patriots. So I kind of did give him some props for saying "fuck you, Bill Belichick." I'm gonna go have fun for the last end of my career.
It's BA and what's the other guy?
But then Todd Bowles and Byron Leftwich, I think.
Byron Leftwich, yeah.
Byron Sandwich.
Yeah, so that's why I wanted them to win. I wanted their coaching staff was literally the coaching staff.
Yeah,
and true. I'm pretty sure the main piece to the puzzle, Kevin Minter. You guys remember him?
I do, yeah. Linebacker.
That's the only reason I wanted the Bucs to win. No, I'm just kidding. I fucking hated Kevin Minter, bro. But so I'll circle it back. I'm worried about the secondary and who's going to be opposite of Byron Murphy. And then the other big thing, Cody, you touched on it too, is I mean, it's been a while since I've seen anything, but I think the last time that there was kind of any reports that Zaven Collins and Isaiah Simmons, guys who should be signal callers on defense, weren't calling the plays. And for one of them to not be stepped up into that position yet is cause for concern, especially when you spend first-round picks on both of them.
Yeah, but Isaiah Simmons never called plays, though, in his college career. He was that Swiss Army knife where he was all over the place. So, but Zaven Collins, that's what he did in college. So he came in, but he was not good last year, and Jordan Hicks was the one that ended up being the defensive captain, who called all the plays. So Simmons is not going to call the plays. It's going to be Collins, and he's got to show up. So I don't know. It's troubling to think about it with all those young cats. I mean, Isaiah Simmons needs to have, one of the best. He needs to have his best season this year. It's his third year. He needs to figure it out. But Collins is going to get tested, and it's going to be interesting to watch, I would say.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I am worried about a lot of things with the Cardinals. I'm worried about the defense throughout the year. I'm worried about the first 6 games, how they show their reserve and how they can, sounds like Cliff has a plan that they've put in place. It almost sounds like he's insinuating they have somewhat like 2 different game plans. Like, this is the playbook we're going to run without Hop. And then once Hop gets back, these are the plays we're going to add in and maybe drop some other ones. Or maybe it's just
playing with his Instagram girlfriend.
Who's that? Oh, Cliff.
I don't know her fucking name.
Yeah, I don't know.
There's just all these pictures came out with Kingsbury and some young chick.
No, but the bigger problem, I think the biggest problem the Cardinals have, and the biggest problem I have with the Cardinals right now is, why the fuck have you not signed Kyler Murray? I know,
I think it's coming, man.
It's coming, right? Because
I
did drop that on you on Twitter a few weeks back, that it was like this is the normal. July is like the normal time that they would right that they would do something like this, right?
Yeah. They're gonna sign. We all know they're gonna sign him.
Yeah, I got a bet going with Greg.
Oh,
what's the bet?
I got a bet going with Greg. He threw out July 14th. He said specific day, and I said if it's that, I got you lunch. If not, you're paying for my shit. So July 14th,
you said.
Circle your calendars.
July 14th.
Here. So this is just for Cody right here, since he brought it up. Talking about Cliff Kingsbury. Apparently, he's enjoying his off season in Croatia, and
He's
with his girlfriend. Is it on the screen? Okay.
Let the man live, bro. You gotta go to Croatia every once in a while,
Veronica Bellic. Is that Nico Bellic's sister?
It's got to be. Oh my God,
Nick-
Chris, you're gonna get us. You're gonna get us.
Nico
strike.
Bellic.
Oh no,
GTA.
is Sabrina still watching? Take that down.
You're gonna get a strike on
No,
us, bro.
this is Cliff Kingsbury. This is Cliff right here. No, this is for sports and entertainment purposes.
Exactly,
only.
Davey. Let the man enjoy his time off.
No, I agree.
Training camp's gonna be
Let
here
the man
soon.
live.
I was just kidding.
Let the man
Just
live.
kidding.
What are you just kidding about, Cody? You don't
When
want
I
Cliff
brought
Kingsbury to
No,
enjoy
when I
his.
brought up his model girlfriend. I was joking.
How does that happen? I wonder.
I'm confused.
Like I know, like Cliff Kingsbury. A lot of people say he's a good looking cat. Like, no problem. That's fine. I understand that. But like, how did he just all of a sudden like find himself hitting up this girl? Like, do you think it was she was what if she was watching the NFL draft and saw him in 2020 when he was laying back on his white silk
Like,
couch?
oh, that's a nice house.
And
Yeah, right.
The outside and the fireplace and just looking nice and luxurious. And she was like, "That's the guy. That's the guy I need to go and DM."
But have you ever heard of that name? Wasn't
Never heard of it.
Exactly, but she is still on here.
She fixed her name though. Props to Sabrina.
Yeah, wow, I'm
Good work.
proud of you.
She did.
Amazing. But Kingsbury, didn't he date Jessica Simpson? Do you guys remember that?
Cliff?
Yeah.
I don't care who he dates, man. Come
Well,
on.
it doesn't.
I'm not keeping tabs.
No.
You know what
But
I'm
Mike,
keeping
answer-
tabs on? Freaking
Well, answer
your
finishing
question.
the season strong, bro. That's what I'm talking about. That's
You
what
know-
I'm paying
you know how-
attention to.
You know how Cliff does it? It's because it even said it in the it hinted it in the headline because it says model girlfriend, but clearly she's not a real model. She's just an Instagram model. Like all these girls think they're models today. But so that means Cliff is
model.
just sliding into DMs left and right. Cliff is in all the DMs.
I
He's
don't
just
think he has to
scrolling
slide
through.
into any DMs. Come on.
Bro, girls don't give a shit about what you're that you're the coach of the Cardinals. They want to know how much fucking paper you have. So he slides into their DMs and then they look and say like, "Oh, he looks like he's living the lifestyle. He's going on lavish vacations." So then they see that. It has nothing to do with his profession. They don't give a fuck. What's Davey saying? Hey dog, you make money off photos
There
of
you
your mom.
go.
Business
But
strategy
make it
right
on
there.
Instagram. You're an Instagram model.
It's 2022, man. I'm saying there's too many outlets for models. It's not just the ones that are on the cover of Maxim anymore.
Yeah, no hate at all. I mean, that's totally fine.
Cody, we know you're not hating. We're just
no.
Nobody thinks you're hating.
Except for Sabrina. You better
Sabrina's
be careful with Sabrina because she knows what you said and she knows that you didn't wear sunscreen. You son of a bitch.
That's the biggest sin of them all is not wearing sunscreen.
I'm putting it on right now.
That's not gonna help.
Sabrina.
Oh god, shit! Did you see how sweaty Cody's ass was?
What the fuck?
I think.
What are you talking about?
What the fuck was that?
That was on the golf course. Oh my god! I wish I could.
It was hot and it was humid. What do you mean? And
I
I wore light color shorts. Leave me alone.
I wish I could pull that up on the stream right now. Damn, I'm sorry.
Just put it up to your camera, Chris.
Oh, should I do that? Yeah. Okay. Let me try it.
Oh my God.
Cody, is this okay with you?
Do you need to sign a waiver? Oh, dang, man.
Was it that bad?
Damn.
Oh Lord.
Those cheeks are soaked, bro.
Oh no.
I feel like it wasn't as hot today as it was last week, too. I mean,
no, it was hot. It was hot.
It was the humidity that'll get you.
Yeah.
It's definitely the humidity.
Yeah, thanks for that.
You're welcome.
That's nice. Yeah.
All right.
Thanks, Dave.
What are you guys doing for the 4th? Anything special?
Great question. I don't have any plans.
Nothing.
Cody, you're coming back to town on Monday, right?
Yeah, I'm going to Flagstaff.
Heck yeah.
I think tomorrow night, and then we're coming back on Monday on the 4th.
Sweet. We got Grant's coming into town from California, so we're going to spend some time with him. I'm excited to see him.
Nice. Nice. That'll be a good time for sure. Well, cool. Yeah, I hope everyone enjoys a nice long weekend. You want to wrap it up here?
Yeah, let's do it.
Cool. Well, we got it all in. Maybe next time when we do this, Kevin Durant will be in a Suns uniform. Maybe not. We got a regular recording coming up. We'll talk about that once the broadcast ends here. But yeah, thank you all for tuning in. This has been another installment of the Heat Check Podcast Live. We're going to try and hit you with one of these at least once a week. Check out the regularly scheduled podcast once a month. All this will be available on Spotify and Apple Podcasts, as well as right here on YouTube if you're still watching now or watching back on the playback. Thank you so much. We'll catch you next time.
Wait, shout out Davey. You and Matt got to do your own podcast. Shout out Chevin for joining us. He does his own podcast with some of his friends, Dynasty Rewind. Go check them out. And then shout out Sabrina. We love you guys. Thanks for joining us.
Yes. Thank you. This was a great podcast. Great shout outs. Hope you all come back next time and spread the word. I think that's it. Peace.